There's been some very big moves in the last few months that affect lots of people on the internet. But perhaps the one that have been discussed the least are those that are going to be hurt the most, and that is small business owners. You may not know this, but small businesses represent more than half of GDP. So it's a very critical part of the economy. And I want to start by just explaining why it is so important that personalization and targeted advertising exist on the internet on behalf of them. If you're a small business owner, the only way that you can survive today is with effective advertising. It used to be that if you were a plumber in a little town like Ventura, California, you would just go buy an ad in the paper and everyone would see it, and that's the way people would call you. Maybe you would do that and spend the other half of your $250 monthly budget on an ad in the yellow pages. But that's not the way people find you anymore. So it becomes really important that that plumber is using that $250 as effectively as possible. And as these big chess moves are made by big tech, that we make certain that the small and medium-sized business owners are not hurt in the crossfire. So let me add a little bit of detail as to what Apple has done in the last month or two. On every phone, there's a device ID. And that device ID on an Apple phone is called an IDFA. Recently, Apple announced that it's no longer going to make available the ID to advertisers without express consent that comes specifically through Apple. Apple introduced a new framework for identity as well as for consent. And they basically made that framework more high level than everything underneath it, which means that Facebook is subservient to Apple, as is everybody else. But that's made it very difficult for small business owners to put targeted advertising in the places that have done very well for them, including places like Facebook. So while Apple's moves recently are big, and there's definitely a desire to protect consumer privacy, but there's also a desire from them to control more. We just have to make certain that the rest of the internet is working closely together to preserve and protect the quid pro quo of the internet without putting consumer privacy at risk whatsoever. And if we do that very well, then companies like The Trade Desk and Facebook and Amazon and thousands of others can continue to serve small and medium-sized businesses so that when they spend that $250 on their monthly advertising budget, that it is done in a way that keeps them in business and keeps the economy thriving.